My mom told everyone I was a failure. Then she needed my signature to save her house. I never planned on speaking to my mother again. For 11 years, I've avoided every birthday, every Christmas, every forced family reunion. I blocked her on everything, not out of spite, but out of survival. But 2 weeks ago, I got a voicemail that punched a hole straight through the life I built. Ethan, it's Mom. Please call me back. It's urgent. I need you. My house is being taken by the bank. They said I need your signature to stop it. Not please see me, not I miss you, not I'm sorry. She needs my signature. I remember staring at my phone for a solid minute, my brain refusing to process it. I'd deleted her number years ago. I had almost forgotten what her voice sounded like. Cold, sharp, accusing, now suddenly fragile, and she needs me? The kid she spent half her life humiliating? Yeah, that's where this begins. But the real story, the part I never expected, is how helping her led me to discovering something that shattered everything I thought I knew about my childhood. My mom stole my identity before I even turned 18. I'm talking credit cards, loans, debt collectors calling me, because she used my social security number like her personal vending machine. And when I finally connected the dots, I didn't sign her house-saving paperwork. I signed a police report, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up. People think emotional abuse looks like yelling or name-calling. That wasn't my mom's style. Her version was humiliation. Public humiliation was her art form. To everyone outside our house, neighbors, family, teachers, my mom was the funny mom, the charismatic one, the one who told it like it was. You know those moms who brag about their kids on Facebook? My mom preferred roasting me like a comedy routine at cookouts. Don't expect much from Ethan. He's not college material. At parent-teacher conferences, he's just lazy. I tell him, try harder, but boys are slow. Once at a family reunion, when everyone was bragging about scholarships and sports trophies, my mom clinked her glass and said, Ethan's biggest accomplishment this year? He learned how to not burn toast. Everyone laughed, including me, because if I didn't laugh, I'd cry. I was 13. When other kids felt embarrassed about bad haircuts or acne, I was embarrassed about existing. And here's the part that still makes me sick to my stomach. I spent years believing her. I thought humiliation was love. I thought her words were truth. I thought if I just worked harder, I could be worth bragging about. Fast forward to now, I'm 29. I have a successful business. I live hundreds of miles away from her. I haven't needed anything from her since the day I walked out at 18 with a backpack and $200. But suddenly, she claims she needs something from me. The universe has jokes. After getting that voicemail, I sat in my car on my lunch break, engine off, replaying the message like it was some kind of crime scene evidence. My co-worker, Alex, knocked on the window and scared the hell out of me. Dude, you good? No, I said, holding up my phone. My mom wants something. He let out a low whistle. He knows the history. Everyone in my life does because I don't hide it anymore. You calling her back? I don't know, I muttered. But I did know. Curiosity is a powerful poison. I called. She answered mid-sob. Ethan? Oh, thank God, I didn't think you'd call. Her voice sounded strangled, desperate. What do you want? I said, no emotion. No softness. It's the mortgage. I'm behind. She sniffed dramatically. I just need you to sign some documents so the bank knows I'm not a financial risk. A financial risk? That part of the sentence stuck out like a thorn. Why me? I asked. Why not Mason or Sarah? Silence. They can't qualify, she said finally, meaning their credit sucks and mine is magically better. Yours is excellent, she said. I didn't say anything. I didn't understand why, but something about that sentence made ice crawl down my spine. I hadn't checked my credit score in months, but last time I did, it was good. Not excellent. Just come home, she begged. We'll talk in person. I almost hung up. But then she said, Ethan, please, I need you. The last time she said those words, I was 6 years old and handing her tissues after one of her meltdowns. And like the idiot child version of myself, I drove back, pulling into my childhood. Neighborhood was surreal. The mailbox was the same. The faded basketball hoop still leaned to one side. The house paint peeled in the same exact places. It was like time stopped the moment I stepped out of my car. The front door swung open. She walked out. My mother, older, thinner, more fragile than I remembered. Oh my God, she whispered, touching her chest. You came. I didn't hug her. The last hug I remember ended with her whispering into my ear, don't embarrass me today. We walked inside. Nothing had changed. Same tacky inspirational quotes on the walls. Family is forever. Live, laugh, love. I almost laughed. I never did any of those things here. We sat at the kitchen table, where she used to humiliate me in front of guests, and she slid a stack of papers toward me. Just sign these. Slow down, I said. What am I signing? It's nothing, she said in a breezy tone. Just refinancing. They need someone with good credit attached. There it was again. Good credit. Why did that matter so much? I scanned the paperwork. Words jumped at me. Borrower, Ethan Reed cosigner, Ethan Reed primary, SSN used for approval, my social security number. That didn't make sense. Why is my information already filled in? I asked. She didn't even blink. Oh, the bank just pre-filled it. No, bank just pre-fills someone's social security number on a document. A chill ran through me. I flipped another page. Multiple. Loan numbers listed under existing debt. Consolidation. Balances.dates. Dates from years ago. My heart started hammering. These weren't new loan numbers. These were old ones. Mom, I said slowly, why are there credit cards under my name on this paperwork? Her expression twitched, just for a split second. Then she said the sentence that changed everything. Because I opened a few accounts using your social when you were younger. You weren't using it, I froze. What? I whispered. She waved her hand like this was nothing. A grocery list item. You don't understand how hard it was to raise kids. I needed help. You had good credit. I didn't. You committed identity fraud, I said, voice shaking. She rolled her eyes. Stop being dramatic. Family helps family. My chest felt like it caved in. All those calls from unknown numbers when I was 19. The bill that arrived addressed to Ethan. Read, past due. The one time a debt collector asked if I had a Macy's credit card. It wasn't random. It was her. Mom, I said, staring at her. You stole my identity, she snapped back. I gave you life. I can use a credit card in your name. I felt sick. My hands were shaking. You ruined my credit before I even had a chance to build it. She leaned back, crossed her arms and said, if you don't sign, I'll lose everything, and it will be your fault. Her manipulation was so sharp, so practiced. It almost worked. Almost. Because in that moment I remembered something. All my life. She called me a failure. Now I knew why. She made me into one on paper. This wasn't a mother asking for help. This was a criminal asking her victim to finish the crime. And for the first time in my entire life, I wasn't invisible. I had power. I stood up, pushed the papers back to her and said, I'm not signing anything. Her smile vanished. You ungrateful? No, I interrupted. You don't get to talk anymore. And I walked out. But what I did next, that's where the real story begins. Because I didn't just refuse to help her. I decided to expose her. I decided to take back my identity. Decided to end the cycle. Because family doesn't destroy you. And when they do, they're not family anymore. I sat in my tiny dorm laundry room, the one place nobody ever went at night. The flickering fluorescent light buzzed above me, while my laptop screen glowed with the scanned bank records I'd pulled from my dad's office. My heart was pounding so loud I could hear it over the dryers. I wasn't supposed to be in that office. I wasn't supposed to know any of this. But once I saw the first missing withdrawal from my college account, I couldn't unsee the rest. My dad always had rules. Rule 1, never question him. Rule number 2, he's always right. Rule 3, family protects family, no matter what. Funny, how those rules only applied to us, never to him. Earlier that week, I drove home for what I thought was a normal Sunday dinner. My mom was stressed. The house was a mess. And Dad kept talking about big investments, like he was a billionaire on a TED Talk. Then he dropped it casually, like it was nothing. He bought a boat, not a tiny fishing boat, a monster, white and shiny, with chrome rails and a stupid name stenciled on the side in gold letters, Second Chance. He was acting like he climbed Mount Everest. I joked, guess we're going fishing? He grinned. No, son, this is for networking, deals, opportunities. And when I said, how'd you pay for it? He just said, don't worry about it. But I did worry, because my mom's been couponing groceries for years, because I paid rent working at a burger place, because college isn't cheap and we aren't rich. That night, I pretended to sleep and waited for the house to go quiet. Then I crept downstairs, opened his office door, and saw papers stuffed in wooden drawers. Sloppy, unorganized like panic. And I found it. My name, multiple withdrawal, slips 80,000. Gone. I stared at those numbers like they were a death sentence. I wasn't angry. Not yet. I was numb. Back in the laundry room, I zoomed in on the digital scans. They were all labeled the same. Education fund transfer. And every transfer went to the boat. Sellers Holding Company. He stole my future. 2. Float on water. Then I noticed something worse. Something that made my stomach twist. Fake invoices. Invoices. Billing construction companies for equipment rentals. But the money never went toward equipment. It went into the same account used to buy the boat. He wasn't just stealing from me. He was defrauding people who trusted him. I scrolled further and saw names. Small contractors. Local workers. People who probably needed every dollar. That's when something inside me snapped. My whole life he wanted me grateful. He wanted obedience, not a son. And now I had proof that everything he built was on lies. That night, my roommate Mark walked into the laundry room. He saw my face and froze. Dude, you look like you just saw a ghost. I didn't blink. I think my dad's committing fraud. He laughed, thinking I was joking. Then he saw the screen. Bro, that's bad. That's like federal time bad, I whispered. He stole my college fund. Mark took a beat, then sat across from me. So what are you gonna do? I didn't know. Turn him in? Expose him? He wasn't just my dad. He was supposed to be my protector, my example, the person who wanted me to succeed. Instead, he buried me so he could play king of the marina. For 2 days, I didn't sleep. I kept replaying every moment he shamed me growing up. You're nothing without me. You think you know more than your old man? If I wanted, I could pull everything you have. Turns out, he already did. On the third night, with my hands shaking, I opened a blank email and attached the files to the IRS whistleblower, programmed to his business partners, to the contractors whose money he stole. My finger hovered over send DI. Didn't feel brave, I didn't feel strong, I just felt done, and then I clicked it. The moment I hit send, I I knew life would never go back to normal. My dad's empire wasn't built on success. It was built on debt, lies, and stolen futures, and now I had just lit the fuse. When you expose someone who thrives on control, they don't crumble quietly, they go to war. 2 days after I sent the files, I woke up to 43 missed calls. The first 20 were from my dad. The next 23 were from my mom. No texts, no explanations, just pure, desperate ringing, like they were trying to pull me back into silence. At 6:07 a.m., the calls finally stopped. Then a text came through. From Dad, we need to talk. Now. No punctuation, not love you, not come home, just a command. I ignored it. By noon, my roommate Mark burst into my dorm. Dude, your dad showed up. I froze. Here? No, at the student center. He's talking to admin or campus security or something. He looks pissed. Adrenaline hit me like a truck. I checked the window. Sure enough, from the 3rd floor, I spotted him pacing across the parking lot. Red-faced, jaw clenched, phone pressed to his ear. He looked like a wolf sniffing out prey. For the first time in my life, I wasn't scared of him. I was scared for myself. Mark grabbed his keys. We're leaving. Back exit. Now. We sprinted to his car, heads down like fugitives. Once we were on the highway, my phone buzzed again. A voicemail. I put it on speaker. Dad's voice was low. Controlled. Too controlled. Son, I don't know what you think you found, but those documents are taken out of context. I'm trying to build something for our family. This boat, this business, it's all for us. You don't understand now, but you will. Call me back. We fix this together, Mark snorted. Yeah, that's a threat in a Hallmark card. But then the voicemail continued, and the tone changed. If you don't call me back, I can't protect you from the consequences. There it was. Not concern, not love, control. I deleted the voicemail. We drove to a Starbucks off campus. Neutral territory, lots of witnesses. I sat there gripping a lukewarm latte while Mark monitored the parking lot like we were in a spy movie. My phone buzzed again. This time it was my mom. Please stop whatever you did. Your father is freaking out. He says lawyers are involved. I'm scared. Guilt hit me like a punch. I didn't want to destroy my mom's life. I just wanted justice. I typed a response. Mom, he stole my college fund. He lied to everyone. This isn't on me, she didn't answer. A minute later, my screen lit up again. Unknown number. I answered. Hello? A calm, professional voice responded. Is this Jason Reed? My stomach dropped. Nobody uses my full name unless it's serious. Yes? This is Agent Wells. We received documentation regarding possible financial misconduct involving Reed Contracting Solutions. We'd like to ask you a few questions. My throat tightened. Holy shit. This was real. We arranged a time to meet the next day at a field office. The agent thanked me for the submission and hung up. I stared at the phone like it was a bomb. Mark whispered, Bro, you might actually bring him down. That night I couldn't sleep. Every creak of the dorm felt like footsteps. Every car door outside sounded like someone coming for me. Around 2 a.m., someone knocked on my dorm door. 3 sharp hits. Bam, bam, bam. Mark snapped awake. Don't open it. The knocking came again, louder. Jason, I know you're in there. My heart nearly stopped. Dad. Mark and I froze. He kept pounding. You think you can ruin me? Open the damn door. He rattled the handle. That sound, the metal shaking, was the sound of every childhood nightmare. My dad wasn't yelling like a father. He was yelling like a man whose power was slipping through his fingers. Mark grabbed his phone and whispered, I'm calling campus police. Dad heard him through the door. You're calling the cops on your own father? After everything I've done for you? He said it like a spell, like I was supposed to obey, but I didn't move. A moment later, campus security arrived. We could hear them in the hallway. Sir, you need to leave or we'll escort you out. Dad's voice dipped to a dangerous whisper. Jason, last chance. Open the door. I didn't. Security escorted him out, and I watched through the window as he got into his truck, staring up at my dorm like I was an enemy. That look haunts me. The next morning, I walked into the federal building with shaking hands. Agent Wells met me in a conference room. He wasn't dramatic. No suits swarming, no FBI jackets, just quiet, focused professionalism. He laid out copies of documents I'd sent. Your father didn't just misuse your college funds, he said. We believe he's been inflating invoices and rerouting funds for years. I swallowed hard. What happens now? Agent Wells leaned back. We've already contacted the IRS and his business partners. Mr. Reed is going to be under investigation, formal investigation starting today. For a second, I couldn't breathe. I had expected panic, chaos, but what I felt was something else. Relief. When I left the building, I checked my phone, one last text from my dad. Just 3 words, you'll regret this. Maybe I would, but for the first time in my entire life, I wasn't under his control. I wasn't his obedient son, his backup plan, his silent sacrifice. I was the person he never expected me to be, the one who fought back. I always thought the worst sound in the world was my father yelling. I was wrong. The worst sound is silence, the kind that comes after you. Detonate a truth someone spent their entire life burying, because after the federal agents contacted him, my dad didn't call, he didn't text, he disappeared, and silence from someone who thrives on control means they're planning something. 5 days passed. 5 days, no calls, no threats, not even a snarky text. Mom didn't reach out either, which was weird because for most of my life, her personality orbit was defend dad at all costs. Every time my phone buzzed, I flinched. Mark tried to lighten it up. So your dad's either on the run or planning to kill you. Classic week. I laughed, but only on the outside. Inside, I felt like I was sitting on a landmine on day 6. I was walking back to my dorm when a familiar car pulled up slowly behind me. Not my dad's truck. My mom's white Toyota. My stomach tightened. She rolled down the passenger window. Jason, get in. Her voice wasn't angry. It wasn't pleading. It was flat, emotionless, a monotone I'd never heard from her. Red flag. I kept walking. I'm busy. She pulled the car in front of me and stopped, blocking my path. Please. 5 minutes. Against better judgment, I got in. Her hands were shaking on the steering wheel. Your father isn't doing well. There was no makeup on her face, dark circles under her eyes. Her hair was messy, like she hadn't slept. We got a visit from IRS investigators yesterday, she whispered. They froze the business accounts. I swallowed hard. Good. He earned that. But then she turned and looked at me. Really looked at me. You didn't just hurt him, she said. You hurt all of us. I blinked. All of us? She continued. The boat was collateral. The business employed your uncle, your cousin, people from our church. Families depend on that income. Do you understand the damage you've done? Ah, there it was. Not, he stole from you. Not, what he did was wrong. Just look what you made us lose. I clenched my teeth. He stole my entire future. She laughed, sharp, humorless. Oh, please. That money wasn't your future. You would have blown it. Your father was building something real. I stared at her. He spent it on a boat, Mom. She slammed her palm on the wheel because he deserved something for once. There it was. The mask finally slipped. In her mind, his comfort, my future. We sat in silence for a moment, the air thick with anger. Then she did something I didn't expect. She started crying. Real tears. Ugly, shaking sobs. Jason, I need you to drop the investigation, she whispered. I can't live like this. I exhaled slowly. I didn't start an investigation. I submitted evidence. They started it. She reached into her purse and pulled out a piece of paper. It was a notarized statement, pre-typed. Ready? I, Jason Reed, withdraw all accusations against my father. Daniel Reed. My chest tightened. This wasn't a plea. This was a setup. You want me to sign this? I said quietly. Yes. Her voice cracked. It's the only way to fix this. I shook my head. No. She grabbed my arm, nails digging in. Listen to me. If you sign this, the IRS backs off. Everything goes back to normal. Normal. Normal meant Dad controlling everything. Mom pretending nothing was wrong. Me complying. No, I repeated. Her tears vanished. Just gone. Her voice dropped to a cold, foreign tone. If you don't sign it, your father says he'll go after you legally. He'll say you stole the money. My heart pounded. He's going to frame me for his crime? She nodded, jaw tight. He's already meeting with a lawyer. Mark always joked my dad was dramatic. He had no idea. Mom leaned closer, voice dropping to a whisper. He's angry. Jason. The kind of angry that breaks things. My pulse hammered. She placed a pen into my hand. Sign it. But I didn't. I opened the car. Doran stepped out. She grabbed my sleeve. One last time. If you walk away, we lose everything. I looked at her. You already did. And I shut the door. I barely made it 2 steps before something caught my eye across the parking lot. A truck. Dad's truck, windows. Tinted engine idling, watching. I didn't see his face, but I saw the outline of him gripping the steering wheel. He had been there the whole time, waiting to see if I would bend, waiting to see if I would brake. I didn't. Mark's voice echoed in my head. You might actually bring him down. For the first time since childhood, my father didn't feel invincible. He felt desperate, and a desperate man is unpredictable. I walked away as calmly as I could, pulse thundering, legs like jelly. But once I turned the corner out of sight, I ran. Not out of fear, out of realization. The real battle hadn't even started yet. I didn't sleep that night. Every time a car passed outside my dorm window, I jolted awake, convinced it was my dad. My brain kept replaying the moment I saw his truck. Engine running, headlights off, just watching, like a predator waiting for movement. The next morning, Mark found me sitting in the campus cafe nursing a coffee I wasn't drinking. You look like you fought a raccoon in a parking lot, he said, sliding into the chair across from me. I didn't answer. Instead, I pushed my mom's notarized withdrawal form across the table. He read it once. His jaw clenched. Holy sh... They're trying to trap you. I nodded. Mark folded the paper, tucked it into his jacket pocket, and said, "We're going to finish what you started." We spent the next 2 weeks gathering every piece of documentation we could find. Bank transfers, tax forms, emails. Dad forwarded to me years ago photos of the boat with business logos slapped on it like a fake marketing expense. The IRS moved fast. Too fast. One morning at dawn, black sedans with tinted windows pulled into my parents' driveway. Agents in windbreakers walked up the steps and knocked. My father wasn't used to people knocking. He was used to people obeying. I wasn't there. But the neighbor filmed it on her phone and sent it to me. Dad stormed out onto the porch. "What the hell is this?" An agent calmly said, "We're here to seize business assets and collect financial records." My dad's voice, usually so controlled, cracked with panic. You can't! This is a mistake!" The boat was the first thing they took. You'd think they were towing away a child. He ran after it, screaming, pounding on the metal as it rolled away. "My boat!" he yelled. "You can't take my fucking boat!" Not my company, not my employees. My boat, the symbol of everything he stole. 2 days later, my phone lit up. "Dad." I froze. Mark looked at me. "Put it on speaker." I did. His voice was low, shaken, stripped of power. "Jason, we need to talk. I don't have anything to say to you. You think you won? You think ruining your own father is something to be proud of?" "That wasn't revenge," I said. "That was accountability." He laughed, a dry, bitter sound that didn't sound like him. "You ruined our family. You ruined it the moment you stole my future." Silence. Then he said something. "I'll never forget. I hope you understand what you've done. Because when your mother leaves me, when we lose everything, when I end up with nothing, that's on your conscience. My conscience, not his actions. Not his fraud, not his theft. He wanted me to carry his downfall like a funeral urn." I hung up. No. Yelling. No final blow. Just a click. The real chaos began the following week. I was walking back from class when Mark called. Voice frantic. "Dude, turn on the news. Channel 7. I bolted into the student lounge, grabbed the remote, and flipped to the local station. A reporter stood in front of my father's office building. Behind her, agents wheeled out boxes of documents. Sources confirm that Reed and Cumber Construction is under investigation for tax fraud, falsified invoices, and misuse of funds. Employees claim they have gone months without pay. Months. He didn't just steal from me, he stole from people who depended on him. One of his workers, a guy named Luis, who I remembered bringing donuts to the office when I was a kid, spoke on camera. He kept promising next week. I couldn't pay rent. We trusted him. My throat tightened. That wasn't just crime. That was cruelty. In the bottom corner of the screen, I saw her, my mom, being escorted out of the building. She wasn't handcuffed, just overwhelmed, wiping tears with shaking hands, her eyes, not angry, confused, like she couldn't believe consequences were real. That night, I got a voicemail from her. "Jason, your father blames me. He says if I hadn't pushed him, none of this would have happened. Please call me. I don't know what to do. I should have felt triumphant. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I felt empty. This wasn't just my dad collapsing. It was my entire childhood imploding. The next morning, I drove to the marina to see it for myself. The boat slip was empty. No polished white hull, no stupid gold letters spelling. Family dream, just an empty dock. I stood there for 5 minutes, then 10. The wind whipped across the water, cold and sharp. I looked down at my reflection in the waves. Not the scared kid who took orders, not the son desperate for approval. Someone new, someone free. Behind me, footsteps approached. I turned. My dad. He looked small. His clothes were wrinkled, eyes red, face hollow. "You did this," he said quietly. I swallowed. "You did this to yourself." He took a shaky step closer. "You destroyed your family." "No," I said. "I stopped you from destroying mine." For a moment, neither of us moved. He wasn't a monster anymore, just a man who thought money made him untouchable. He broke the silence with 6 words. "You will regret this, Jason? I shook my head. No. For the first time in my life, I don't regret a damn thing. I walked past him, didn't look back. Not once. Because that boat wasn't the only thing that sank. So did his power, his lies, his control. And for the first time, I felt the weight lift off my shoulders. I didn't just take my future back. I took my freedom. There's something no one tells you about revenge. It doesn't end with fireworks. It ends with silence. The week after the IRS seizure felt surreal. Every day, new fallout. The company's website disappeared, the phone line went dead, the office sign was ripped off and tossed into a dumpster. It was like someone scrubbed my father's existence from the town. I should have felt relief, victory. But all I felt was exhausted. I'd spent years trying to earn his approval. Then I spent months trying to destroy what he worshipped. I didn't realize until now how much space he took up in my head. I wanted the space back. 3 days later, I got an email from the IRS assigned investigator, a curt, professional message that read, "We may require your testimony. Keep all documents secure." I stared at it, heart pounding. This was real. There was no undo button. Mark leaned over my shoulder, reading the email. "You okay?" "Yeah," I lied. He snorted. "You look like you're about to puke." Fair, because that same night, there was a pounding at my dorm door. Not knocking, pounding. I froze. Mark moved to the peephole, tensed. "Dude, it's your dad." My lungs shrank. "No," I whispered. "He wouldn't come here." But he did. He slammed his palm against the door again. "Jason, open the door." Mark shook his head. "Don't." My phone buzzed. 3 calls, then a text. "You owe me this conversation." No, I owed him nothing. We stayed silent. Eventually, his footsteps faded. His truck engine growled, then disappeared. But that moment reset something inside me. I was done reacting. I needed closure. The next morning, I drove back to my hometown, not to see him, but to see her, my mom. The entire time this storm was happening, she'd been quiet. Not defending him. Not reaching out to me, just silent. I pulled into their driveway and sat in the car. Her garden was dead. The porch paint was peeling, and the front window had a neon orange sticker. "Property seized. Federal investigation." He stepped inside the house. The place reeked of stale beer, anger, and defeat. Mom was sitting at the kitchen table, clutching a coffee mug like it was the only thing keeping her upright. Her hands trembled. "Jason," she said softly. Her voice wasn't angry, not disappointed, just tired. "I didn't know he used your money," she whispered. I sat across from her. "You knew something." She swallowed hard. "I knew he was hiding things from me, but every time I tried to question him, he'd remind me that we had a life because of him, that we'd be nothing without him." Her voice broke. "I was afraid, and I chose being afraid over being honest with you." I stared at her hands. They looked smaller than I remembered. "For what it's worth," she said quietly. "I'm sorry. I didn't cry, I didn't yell, I just nodded. Because apologies don't rebuild trust, actions do. And for the first time," she wasn't defending him, "I found my dad in the backyard. He was standing beside the empty boat trailer, staring at it like the boat might magically reappear if he stared long enough. You got what you wanted," he said without turning around. "No," I said. "What I wanted was for you to care about me more than you cared about that boat." He turned, and for the first time, I saw it. Fear. My entire life's work, he said, voice cracking. "Gone because of your tantrum." Tantrum? My voice rose. "You stole my future." "I invested," he snapped. "In yourself. In us," he stammered. "No," I said. "You bought a boat to pretend you were a success." His jaw clenched. "She'll leave me," he said quietly. I shrugged. "That's between you and her." He stepped toward me, voice desperate. "You think you're better than me? You think this will make you happy?" "No," I said, "but it made me free." He opened his mouth, but I cut him off. "You always said you were building a future for your family. But the only future you cared about was one where you were the hero and we stayed small." I walked away while he was still speaking, because finally, he had no power over me. 2 months later, I got a letter. Full scholarship, not pity, not charity, my work, my grades. My effort. Mark tackled me when I told him, "Dude, you did it." No, I didn't do it alone. I did it without them. That night, I drove to the marina one last time. The dock lights flickered across the water. The slip where the boat used to sit was still empty. I stood at the edge, hands in my pockets. "I thought sinking your boat would make me feel whole," I whispered. But it turns out, walking away did. Move-in day. I cared carried my boxes into my dorm, posters, notebooks, a coffee maker I definitely didn't know how to use. Sunlight poured through the window, landing on the plaque above my desk. Engineering Student of the Year. Finalisti placed it on the shelf, not to show off, but to remember. I built this life. No one handed it to me. A knock on the door. My roommate stuck his head in. You settling in? Yeah, I said softly. For the first time, I think I am. He left. I closed the door behind him, not gently, with finality. My dad once told me, "You'll never make it without me." He was right in one way. Couldn't grow while carrying the weight of him. But the day I stopped needing his approval, that's the day I started living. I didn't sleep that night. You'd think after dropping a bomb on my dad's business and exposing him to the IRS, I'd feel triumphant, maybe euphoric. But I just lay in bed staring at the ceiling, hands clamped together to stop them from shaking, because I knew what was coming. I knew my dad's next move wouldn't be logic or reflection. It would be war. Around 6 a.m., my phone buzzed. Mom, not a call though. A text, short and weirdly casual. Don't come home. No explanation. No punctuation. Just those 3 words staring at me like a warning label. Immediately my stomach twisted. Was Dad angry at her for something? Did she tell him she planned on leaving? Did he find out she'd helped me? 5 seconds later, another text came through. He knows. My heart almost stopped. I slid out of bed, grabbed my backpack, and stuffed everything important inside. Laptop, documents, that flash drive with every spreadsheet, invoice, an email from Dad's company that proved everything. I wasn't going to be caught empty-handed. As I zipped the bag, my phone started ringing. Dad. I didn't answer. He called again and again. Then I got a voicemail. I replayed it, hands trembling. Ethan, I know what you did. You have 10 minutes to call me back before I make this a hell you don't walk away from. No yelling, no rage, just cold. The kind of cold that makes you realize you never really knew the person you grew up with. I left my apartment and drove toward campus, still running through scenarios in my head. If he tries to sue, if he tries to destroy the evidence, if he tries to, my windshield suddenly exploded. Glass shattered everywhere, raining down across the dash. I jerked the wheel, swerving onto the gravel shoulder. My heart hammered. When I looked up, a dark pickup truck sat sideways across the road. Blocking me in, Dad stepped out. Not Dad, the guy who used to take me fishing, or flip pancakes on Sundays. No, this version had dead eyes and clenched fists. He walked toward me like a man who had already decided someone deserved to bleed. I threw the door open, stumbling out. Are you insane? I yelled. You could have killed me! You think calling the IRS on me was any better? He shouted. You handed those files over like I'm some criminal. You are a criminal, I fired back. You stole $80,000 of my future. He stalked closer. Too close. I built this business from nothing, he snarled. You wouldn't exist without it, and I don't owe you my entire life because of that, I said, voice shaking but steady. You don't get to buy my obedience. He laughed once, sharp and bitter. Oh, Ethan, you think the IRS scares me? I can negotiate. I can lawyer up. I can spin a story. But you? His smile dropped. You're just a kid. A nobody. He leaned in until we were inches apart. You made a mistake. I stood my ground. No, you made a choice. For a second, neither of us breathed. Then he lunged. He grabbed the backpack with my laptop, the evidence, and yanked it off my shoulder. I grabbed back, pulling with everything I had. He shoved me, hard. I hit the gravel and skidded, tearing open my palms. He ripped the backpack open and dug through it. Papers flew everywhere. Then he froze. The flash drive sat in his hand. He held it between 2 fingers, staring at it like it was a detonator. This ends now, he whispered. He walked toward his truck, opened his door, and reached for the ignition, clearly intending to smash or destroy the one thing that could burn him alive legally. I scrambled up, sprinted, and threw myself into the cab, reaching across him to grab the flash drive. He elbowed me in the ribs, knocking the wind out of me. I gasped, vision blurring. You think you can ruin me? He spat. I made you. I didn't think, I just reacted. I slammed my hand down on the truck's horn. It blared through the empty road like a scream. A car turned the corner, then another. Traffic, people, witnesses. Dad's grip loosened. I yanked the flash drive back and jumped out of the truck, stumbling but running. He came after me again. You walk away with that. You lose a father, he warned. I turned back, chest heaving. You stopped being my father the day you stole my future. He stopped, just stood there, staring at me like I was a stranger. Then he said something that chilled me to the core. You think this is the worst I can do? The next week was hell. My email was hacked. Someone tried to break into my apartment. The school financial office got an anonymous complaint accusing me of fraud. Everywhere I turned, the damage was growing. Dad was trying to scorch earth everything I had left, but the sinking feeling in my gut became a full-blown freefall when I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Hello? Is this Ethan Collier? Yes, this is Special Agent Daniels, IRS Criminal Investigations. We need to meet today. My blood ran cold. Did Dad flip it on me? Did he somehow twist this and blame me? When I arrived at their office, 2 investigators sat across from me, one calm and poker-faced, the other watching me like a hawk. Agent Daniels folded his hands. Your father claims you blackmailed him, he said evenly, that you threatened to fabricate illegal accusations unless he gave you money. I almost laughed. It was so insane. He stole my college fund, I said. He used my mom's name to commit tax fraud. I have proof. proof. We know, Daniels replied. He slid a folder across the table. Inside were printouts, my spreadsheets, the screenshots, the emails, not just the flash drive, everything. We received an anonymous delivery last night, he said. My heart skipped. Anonymous, Mom. She must have sent duplicates. She'd protected me again without me knowing. Agent Daniels leaned back. Ethan, you didn't destroy his business. He paused. He destroyed himself. I swallowed hard. So, what happens now? Daniels closed the folder. We're issuing a warrant. Your father will be arrested within the week. I stared at the table as the reality sank in. This wasn't a victory. It was a funeral. That night, I drove to the lake, our old fishing spot, just to breathe. The sun was setting and the water reflected pink and gold, calm and perfect. Then I heard the crunch of tires on gravel. Dad's truck. Of course. He walked toward me, slower than usual, almost tired. They came to my office today, he said quietly. Took files, computers. I said nothing. He stared out at the lake. I never wanted this. I just wanted my future too, I replied. After a long silence, he spoke again, voice trembling. Did you hate me that much? I shook my head. I didn't do this because I hated you. I did it because you never stopped hurting me, because you loved your image more than your son. He wiped his face, angry at himself for showing emotion. You ruined my life. No, I said gently. You did that when you chose to betray your family. He looked at me one last time. Then he got in his truck and drove away. That was the last time I ever saw him outside a courtroom. And even then, he never looked at me once. When Dad drove away that night at the lake, I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. The IRS might have been closing in, but my dad wasn't the type to accept consequences. When he couldn't use money or intimidation, he did what desperate men do. He tried to rewrite the story, and he chose the perfect scapegoat, me. 3 days later, I woke up to my phone blowing up. Texts, missed calls, notifications. My stomach dropped as soon as I opened the group chat with my old friends. Dad posted something on Facebook, a long, dramatic, manipulative essay. My son blackmailed me. He stole confidential business information and tried to extort money from me. Please pray for us. Extort blackmail. The comments were full of sympathy for him. You're a good father. Kids today are so ungrateful. Sending prayers, stay strong. My nephew did something similar. Drugs are usually involved. Drugs? Are you kidding me? I felt sick. I scrolled. Dad had even posted a photo of us fishing from when I was 9. A perfect father-son moment from a time when I still believed he loved me without conditions. He weaponized nostalgia. Meanwhile, half my extended family suddenly had concerns for my mental health. Mom texted me, do not respond publicly. Let the investigation speak. Easy for her to say. She wasn't the one being painted as a criminal, but I stayed silent because I knew the truth. 2 days later, the investigators called again. Ethan, we need you to come in for a follow-up, Agent Daniels said. Is something wrong? He hesitated. A bad sign. Your father turned over documents implicating you. I actually laughed, bitterly. Of course he did. Of course he'd manufacture evidence. When I arrived at the office, Daniel spread out a series of printed emails, allegedly from me, demanding money from Dad. Each one said something like, send $20,000 or I leak everything. Only the grammar wasn't mine, the tone wasn't mine, and the timestamps were from times I was clocked in at my part-time job. This is fake, I said. He forged them. We suspected, Daniels replied, but procedural law requires us to confirm. The other investigator leaned back, arms crossed. You have enemies with money, she said, and money makes crime easier. My anger boiled, but beneath it, fear seeped in. Dad wasn't just trying to save himself. He was trying to ruin me so badly that no one would believe anything I ever did again. My future wasn't just stolen. Now it was being contaminated. That night, I drove to Mom's. Her lights were off. When she finally opened the door, her eyes were red and swollen. He served me divorce papers, she whispered. My heart stopped. What? He said I'm colluding with a hostile party, she said shakily. I didn't even know what colluding meant until I Googled it. She reached into a drawer and pulled out a small envelope. Inside was a laminated copy of the marriage license. He only married me, she said, voice cracking, so he'd have someone to hide assets under when things went bad. And suddenly everything made sense. The boat wasn't just a boat. The invoices weren't just bad accounting. He'd been planning to use her as a legal shield. I sank onto the couch. I'm sorry, I whispered. She gave me a sad smile. No, don't apologize. I let him become this. I ignored the red flags because I kept waiting for him to go. Back to the man I married. Then her face hardened. But that man never existed. She stood up and walked to the closet. I have something to show you. She returned with a cardboard box. It was full of files, receipts, statements, things she'd been collecting quietly like a squirrel storing nuts for winter. He always underestimates me, she said. People like your father think silence equals weakness. They forget silence can be strategy. I felt my chest tighten. Mom wasn't choosing fear. She was choosing war. A week later, Dad was arrested, not with dignity, not privately. He was handcuffed in the parking lot of his company, in front of his employees, board members, and clients. He screamed at the agents. He shouted that he'd been betrayed. He bellowed that I destroyed him. The agents ignored him. as they shoved him into the back of the squad car. Our eyes locked. His were full of pure hate. But when I looked back at him, I didn't feel hatred, just relief, and maybe closure. The news spread fast. His business partners turned on. His friends disappeared. His Facebook supporters went silent. Funny how loyalty vanishes when money does. But the real shock came 2 days later when Agent Daniels called me in. Again, he closed the office door and lowered his voice. Ethan, during the investigation, we discovered a second account. A second what? Account, offshore, Cayman Islands. He slid a paper across the table. Account balance, $312,000, my breath caught. That's your college fund, Daniels finished. He hid it offshore under a shell corporation. In your mother's name. My chest tightened. After everything he'd done, he still kept the money. Safe, untouched, mine. So, I get it back? I whispered. Daniels nodded. All of it. My hands shook so badly I had to grip the table. For the first time in years, I saw a future again. And this time, it was mine. Dad was denied bail. Too much fraud risk, too big of a flight risk. The judge listed his crimes: tax evasion, money laundering, identity misuse, falsifying financial records. He didn't look at me once. I realized then that I wasn't destroying my father. I was finally escaping him, and I'd never go back. People expect that when justice finally hits, everything inside you goes quiet. Like some movie moment where the music swells and the main character feels peace. That's not what happened. After Dad's arrest, I expected relief. Instead, my phone buzzed nonstop with unfamiliar numbers. Unknown callers. No caller ID. Voicemails that were just breathing. But the worst part? My mother stopped talking to me. Not because she supported him, but because she didn't know who she was without him. 2 days after the arrest, she called. Not with tears, with venom. You ruined our family. I froze in the parking lot outside my part-time job, holding the phone like it was a live grenade. Mom, he stole $80,000 from me. He faked emails to accuse me of blackmail. He tried to pin his crimes on me. You could have handled this privately, she snapped. Families don't call the police on each other, I laughed. It was either laugh or scream. He didn't treat me like family. Her voice cracked, but she recovered quickly. Well, you didn't have to destroy him. I didn't destroy him, I said quietly. He destroyed himself. I just stopped protecting him. She hung up, not even goodbye, just dead air. A week later, I was subpoenaed to testify at the preliminary hearing. Imagine sitting 20 feet away from the man who taught you how to ride a bike while lawyers read off a list of his crimes like a grocery. List fraud, forgery, identity misuse, tax evasion. The prosecutor asked me to take the stand. Dad refused to look at me. He stared at the wall behind me like I was invisible. The cross-examination began. The defense attorney smiled like he practiced in front of a mirror. Ethan, you've been very angry with your father, haven't you? I've been hurt, I corrected. And you benefited, didn't you? You got the money in the end. My money, I said. The college fund that I worked summers for. He leaned in. Isn't it true that you hate your father? A pause stretched across the room. Everyone watched me. I swallowed hard. I don't hate him, I said. I hate that I spent years trying to be someone he would be proud of. Dad finally looked at me. Pure hatred. Not regret. Not sadness. Hatred. Like, I was the reason his life was collapsing, not his choices. After the hearing, I walked into the hallway feeling like my nerves were fried. Then someone called my name. Ethan? I turned. It was Jake, one of Dad's former employees. The guy who once told me Dad wasn't paying workers. He looked exhausted, like someone who hadn't slept in weeks. I wanted to thank you, he said quietly. You didn't just save yourself. You saved the rest of us. We've been chasing unpaid salaries for months. His voice shook. We have families, kids. You did the right thing. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about college money. Dad hurt dozens of people. I wasn't the only victim. Jake hesitated, then handed me an envelope. He told people you were mentally unstable, that you stole from him. Inside were printed screenshots, texts from Dad to former employees trashing me, manipulating the narrative. He said you were dangerous, Jake said. Dangerous. When I asked for my college fund back, He called me dangerous. My stomach twisted so hard I had to lean on the wall. Dad wasn't just protecting his business. He was eliminating me as a threat. That night, around 2 a.m., I opened the offshore account summary again. $312,000, my future, my freedom. I sat on the edge of my bed with the papers in my lap, realizing I could go to college, could leave. I could start over. But I also knew that moving on meant something harder than revenge. It meant letting go, letting the court system handle him, letting the money serve my future, not my anger. I thought the final battle was taking him down, but the real battle was choosing not to become him. A week before sentencing, Dad requested to see me. Agent Daniels advised against it. My therapist said, only go if I wanted closure. I didn't know what I wanted, so I went. He sat on the visitor's side of the jail glass partition. His orange jumpsuit suddenly made him look smaller, older, human. The phone receiver felt cold in my hand. He stared at me with dead, empty eyes. You happy now? He asked. No, I said. Just free. He leaned closer. You think you won. But you'll spend your life alone. No family, no father, no legacy. I swallowed. I'd rather have no family than a toxic one. His jaw clenched. Then he whispered, like a curse, you are nothing without me. I leaned forward too. Slow and calm, that's where you're wrong. I was nothing with you. I hung up and walked out. For the first time, he couldn't control the narrative. He couldn't spin the story. He couldn't rewrite my life. He couldn't touch me anymore. And that was the moment I realized I didn't just survive him. I escaped him. The day of Dad's sentencing, the courtroom air felt heavy, like everyone was holding their breath. I didn't plan to go. I thought I'd moved on. But at the last minute, I walked through those doors and sat in the very back. I didn't go for him, I went for me. Dad shuffled in wearing that same orange jumpsuit, the same defeated posture. His hair was messy like he'd stopped trying. He scanned the crowd, looking for someone, anyone, on his side. Mom wasn't there. His business partners weren't there. His employees weren't there. Only me. He looked at me like I owed him something. Like I was still supposed to be his audience. The judge flipped through his file and read off the charges. Fraud, tax evasion, identity manipulation, wire transfer misrepresentation. Every word was like a shovel hitting dirt, digging the grave of the image Dad spent his whole life building. His lawyer stood and tried to paint him as a man overwhelmed by stress, burdened by providing for his family. The judge stared at him. You didn't provide for your family. You stole from them. When Dad stood to speak, he didn't apologize. Not to me. Not to the employees he robbed. Not to the people who lost houses because he never paid them. He said one sentence, I was trying to protect what I built. He didn't say our family. He didn't say his son, just what he built. The judge responded, then you should have built something worth protecting. And with the bang of a gavel, it was over. Dad was sentenced to 7 years. People gasped. Someone even whispered, he deserves more. Dad turned toward me, eyes full of rage, like I had killed him. But the truth was, it wasn't my actions that destroyed him. It was the first lie he ever told. Family doesn't screw you over. He did. After the sentencing, I walked out into the cold air and just stood there. No cheering. No victory rush. No music playing like some dramatic movie finale. Just wind, just silence. Agent Daniels approached me. You did the right thing, she said. It doesn't feel good, I admitted. Doing the right thing rarely. Yes. She handed me an envelope. Final. Documentation confirming the offshore account. Transfer was authorized by court. Order, my money, my future, finally back where it belonged. 3 months later, I was standing in my new apartment, packed suitcases around me, accepted into a university with a partial scholarship. The rest covered by my recovered savings. A real future. No, lies attached. My phone buzzed. Mom. I stared at the name for a long time before answering. Her voice was tired, older than I remembered. I lost the house, she said. Everything is gone. I didn't say anything. She sniffed. Already crying. You could have stopped this. I took a long breath. No, Mom. He could have stopped this. Her voice turned sharp. You'll regret choosing strangers over your father. I closed my eyes. You never realized. I wasn't choosing strangers over family. I was choosing myself over abuse. She inhaled like she wanted to scream, but I hung up, gently, without anger. Not every ending needs a dramatic exit. Sometimes, peace is silent, move-in day. I carried a box into my new dorm. Students laughed in the hall, dragging mini fridges, tripping over extension cords. A girl passing by smiled. First year? Yeah, I said. Late start, she shrugged. At least you started. I smiled back. After she left, I stood in the empty room and let the reality hit me. I wasn't running from anything anymore. I wasn't proving myself to anyone anymore. My future was mine. I set a photo on my desk, not of Dad, not of family, a photo of me, age 18, holding a duffel bag, scared but hopeful. The version of me that ran away from home, the version that had no idea whether he would survive. I whispered to him like he was someone else. You made it. My phone buzzed, one new voicemail from an unknown number. Dad voice, cold, bitter. You think you won? He hissed. But you're alone. You'll always be alone. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel the need to respond because I finally understood. He wasn't my anchor. He was my chain, and I cut it. I deleted the voicemail. Then I walked down to the campus courtyard where students were laughing, eating pizza, tossing frisbees. For once, I didn't feel like an outsider looking in. I belonged somewhere. Not because of him, because of me. As I leaned against a brick wall, watching the sunset over the quad, a calm truth settled in my chest. I didn't destroy his life. I protected mine. And freedom? Freedom doesn't always feel like fireworks. Sometimes it just feels like breathing without permission.